I think the reason why supporters may, criticize artists that they like, artists that they've grown up on, or just artists in general, right? For example, like you may hear classic album, you may remember classic albums, classic singles, things that, you can actually say, you know what? That's the standard that an artist set. They know exactly what they're doing and they're just on a good run, for example, right? And you just know whenever you hear them what to expect, right? You generally know that. And I think the reason why, and I was thinking of this, the reason why artists are criticized, it's not just because fans want to be malicious or anything like that, or they just want to hate, for example. I think it's mainly just based on the fact that you didn't live up to a certain standard. Sometimes artists can feel aggrieved or they feel at times, that fans don't understand certain things and maybe that could be the case. But I think the main sort of issue is just the fact that artists in the eyes of the supporters don't maintain or live up to a certain standard that they've set, a good standard that they've set. And normally it can get to a point where sometimes artists will release a song or release albums, do something totally different from maybe their first album or whatever it is, and it confuses maybe the fans. And then the fans are like, but why is that the case that this artist has done this kind of sound, right? But normally sometimes the artist just wants to create art. They want to do things that they're passionate about. They want to move to a new direction for whatever reason. Maybe it's a business decision. Maybe, they've just experienced something different in their life. And I've noticed supporters generally criticize when maybe in the artist sides, they don't understand where the artist is coming from. But even if the artist is making a direction change in terms of a sound or, message, the fact that a fan will criticize, it's not really because they don't understand it. Sometimes it's just literally there's a sound discrepancy there. There's a sound discrepancy in terms of what you're doing. It's not new to them or it's foreign to them, and I think that's where it kind of like boils down to mainly in terms of how artists and fans sometimes have an issue in terms of certain directional changes. But it's mainly for me due to the fact that, there's a standard that an artist has set. And once that standard is not the same, even if, like I say, the sound can be different, but even if there's a general sort of sonic sound, even there's a general sort of, feeling that you may get from an artist. If that is not there, that's when I've noticed artists generally are criticized from fans. For example, you go back to '99, right? And for the young people, you're gonna have to do some Googles on this. But if you go back to I remember when Nas came out with Nostradamus and the single he had one of his singles, Nostradamus, right? And the album's called Nostradamus in '99. And I remember when he got criticized because he had two albums that year. One was I Am and then Nostradamus. He got criticized for the fact that he came out with a sound that people were questioning. People were questioning. And then in 2001, he shut people up. Stillmatic came out, and the rest was history. Got Yourself a Gun, Ether, all them tracks came out. So it kind of shows what I'm speaking of in terms of there was a certain standard that Nas, for example, was known for. People criticized him because, again, you're not always going to hit it out of the park. He came back and shut everyone up with 2001 Stillmatic, or Wayne's current, his Carter 6 album. It was criticized. And I think mainly because of the fact that he's had a standard so long that was one of the highest in a lot of fans' eyes or, rap people's eyes. And the fact that he maybe had some beats or, some flows or something that the fans felt was generally different is why they criticize. I don't believe it's always, as some may say, it's a hating tactic or you just hate or you don't understand the message I'm trying to do. I think it's more of there was a certain style and standard that you get from these, good artists. And once they don't meet that, that's where the issues lie. I remember even Dr. Dre as well. When he came out with Dr. Dre Presents, I think, The Aftermath, and that was in '96. And then he got criticized for that. People were, saying, oh, creatively, where is he? Is he the same? And then boom, Chronic 2001 album. silence. Everyone was like crazy with it, you know, liked it. And again, it just shows you that once you maintain a standard and you get back to it, normally you appease your fans. And I've noticed that's generally what it is. Because I just used to think, or I thought about this and I thought, okay, artists being criticized, and sometimes they are, um, artists will say, oh, you don't understand the direction I was going in, or I tried something different and it just didn't, translate, maybe because the fans weren't ready. I think people will be open to making changes to your music. I think fans will be open. It just depends on if they can understand it in terms of just from a sound perspective and a sonic perspective. And then obviously what you're saying in the songs. So yeah, that's what I think it is. It's just literally there's a standard that was set from many artists. And once you go below that, critiques will take place. And I think that's all it generally is. And that goes for generally many things. Any art that you do, anything that someone is used to, if they see that you're not maintaining that, I think fans can sometimes be, or, a little bit harsh, you can say, but it's expected, especially if they invest, like I say, I was saying earlier about, if they invest some time, and invest money into a lot of these artists. But that's what it is. Just a brief sort of, in my opinion, overview of why I think, fans are critical of certain artists at different moments. But it'll be interesting to find out what, other people think, because for me, I think those are the sort of main reasons, just the standards being different to what, you introduced us to, basically. So I think that's what it generally, boils down to be fair. But yeah, like I say, it'll be interesting to hear what people think, hear what people, have in terms of what they believe is the issues. But yeah, it's an interesting one.